Many learners tell me that they love reading, but find reading in English too slow and boring. But who says reading in English should be boring? You probably already read more than you think. Reading is more than just reading a book. It goes from Facebook posts, blogs, recipes, labels, commands on your cell phone, signs on the road, and so on. Reading is everywhere. We do it all the time. Even reading the subtitles while watching this video. So even if you are not a fan of books, this lesson is for you. We will teach you 4 practical tips to start taking your reading to the next level right now. By the end of this lesson, you'll understand how reading can boost your English. You'll see that you don't need to read the same way all the time. How to find your reading thing. Improving your reading can be fun. The benefits of reading to your personal life. And by the way, in case you are new here, every week we make fun lessons just like this one so that you can learn English without getting lost, without missing the jokes, and without subtitles. Like Rita, who says that even though she lives in the USA, she could not find anything that worked to improve her English effectively until she discovered our channel. So we will help you to achieve your English learning goals too. Just hit the subscribe button and the bell down below so you don't miss any of our new lessons. First things first, what is reading? At a basic level, reading is identifying and making sense of words and symbols. However, there is so much more to that. Reading is an interactive process of recognition that leads to interpretation. In other words, it's a thinking process that involves using strategies to process a text in order to construct knowledge. That's a fancy way of saying that reading actually makes you smarter. It makes your brain work harder and better while energizing it. So, of course, improving your reading in English might even improve your abilities to read and think critically in your native language. With that said, it's worth mentioning that there are many types of reading, and you don't need to read the same way all the time. The most common strategy that we use, even without knowing it, is called skimming. If you skim a text, you read it quickly to comprehend the gist, the main idea. This is what you do when you pick a magazine up at your doctor's office and go over the articles without spending too much time on it. Or when you are scrolling your Facebook feed to check if any post is worth clicking to read more. With this type of reading, you learn through context. You don't stop and look up every single word. You learn to infer its meaning by capturing the essence of what you've read. Let's try it. You have 40 seconds to read or skim this paragraph. Do not pause the video. Now try to answer this question without going back to the text. Which sentence best describes the main idea of the text? Interesting, right? I'm sure that there are words that you may not know yet in this text. However, if you read it with the singular focus of getting the main ideas, the unknown words won't stop you. Now, another highly useful strategy is called scanning. When you scan a text, you read it to find specific pieces of information. You're scanning when you read the info on your plane ticket to confirm your seat number, or to find the characteristics of a product in a catalog. You shift your attention from the overall meaning to the structure, numbers, adjectives, percentages, etc. Take a look at these situations and decide which type of reading, skimming over all information, or scanning specific information would be the best one to use. You look at the movie theater's website to see if there's a new release tonight. You need to decide if a long article will be useful for a paper you're writing at school. You look at a train timetable to see when the next train is due. You have a meeting in 10 minutes and haven't read the report that is going to be discussed. These strategies can be transferred to any type of text you read, and being aware of them will help you determine how much effort you should put into your reading. Not only that, but also understanding your level of English first will take a lot of the weight off of your shoulders. Our next tips will help you with choosing your next text. By the way, did you notice how I connected the words here? Will take a lot of the weight off of your shoulders. The letter E in take is what we call a silent letter. It means that you don't pronounce it. And that's why we connect the word take with A, sounding like take-a. Also, the letter T in lot is between two vowels, lot of. In situations like these, Americans tend to pronounce it with a soft D sound, lot of. And of is often reduced to simply a. So I say lotta, not lot of. If you want to learn more about how we natives really speak so that you can understand your favorite TV series, movies, and podcasts, as well as natives in real life, then I highly recommend that you give our Powered Learning mini course a try. It is absolutely free, and we will show you what it takes to comprehend natives confidently in the real world. Sign up now. Just click up here or down in the description below. Do you like reading? What about reading in English? Maybe your answer is no. You may say you like it, but you don't have the time. Or maybe you do like it, but you find it tiring reading in another language. Well, let me help you with that. There are many options for you to start reading right now. The first step is to start with things you already like or that you've already read in your first language. This means do not read children's books because you think that they are the easiest. Kids' books tend to use strange vocabulary that isn't actually practical to you. Furthermore, the stories won't really engage you, so you'll probably give up. Now, the exception, of course, is if you have children and you want to read these books with them. Then that is a fantastic way for you to bond and practice together. Now, maybe you use different social networks. You may choose to follow certain pages on Facebook or Instagram that cover topics you like. Since there are so many options out there, turn reading in English into a habit, even if it's just a tweet, the captions of a post, a paragraph, a news article, or a blog article, or a whole page of a book. Remember, you set the time and place to make that commitment to yourself. For example, every day after having dinner, I'll read 2 tweets from CNN's account. Build a habit, read every day. Start small, and when you least realize it, this habit will grow on you. Again, the key is to read what you already enjoy reading in your own language. So don't just start reading the news because someone told you it's good for learning English if you don't enjoy doing that in your native language. It's important that you find something that is just a little bit more challenging than your current level, and that is gripping enough to get you into the habit. So here are a couple of tips. Start simple. If you are a fan of books and want to read more of them in English, look for graded readers. They are books designed for learners in which the language was adapted to suit different levels. Besides that, they have pre, during, and post-reading activities that make reading much more fun and help you to better understand the text. This is also a great way of exposing yourself to the culture by reading classic English and American literature, like Moby Dick or The Picture of Dorian Gray. Play games in English. If you don't tend to read books, but you are a fan of video games, they can be a fantastic source to help you to read more. Lots of different games have written dialogues and text you need to understand to move on in the game. They help you to develop problem-solving skills and are often related to survival English. Don't waste the chance of learning while you have fun. Play them in English. Read things you're interested in. Social media posts, comics, blog articles, magazines, recipes, even product labels, you name it. Read things you're interested in. They don't need to be books. You can also pick a particular topic you like and opt for reading different types of text within the same topic. That is called narrow reading and will expose you to the same language range over and over, which will ultimately help you acquire that vocabulary. We've seen at the beginning of the video that reading is a powerful skill to develop. So find among the things you already read in your first language something that you'll enjoy reading in English too. Reread. Following up on the previous tip, find things you already enjoy in your mother tongue and reread them in English. This way, you'll feel less anxious to understand what's going on and will be able to focus more on the language. For me, I absolutely love the Harry Potter series, and I reread the books to improve my German and Spanish. By the way, in our recent lesson on the Queen's Gambit, we explored how star Anya Taylor-Joy learned English with Harry Potter. On the same note, you may choose to read the book version of a movie or series you watched. Read self-development books or articles. This genre tends to have more simple language and can be a great way of cultivating the habit of reading. Not to mention that if you choose a book on a particular area of your life that you need to improve, it will help you in other ways as well. I created this lesson on 6 life-changing books for English learners for exactly this reason. Young adults books. Now, as I mentioned, I don't believe reading children's books makes sense for most English learners, but young adults books are another story. Browse the teens book section of a public library in your city or neighborhood, or even on Amazon. You might not even spend a penny and will have many choices to pick from. These types of books tend to use a bit easier language. I think that series are great because they hook you and keep you entertained for a long time. Some examples are Harry Potter, The Hunger Games, Twilight, and The School for Good and Evil. Although the language in them may not automatically be transferable to your daily conversations, it still helps you expand your vocabulary, understand the structure of the language, and improve your comprehension in general. By the way, learn with the Harry Potter books now in a fun and powerful way in this video that Andrea made. Just click up here or down in the description below to find that. Simple English. Finally, another tip is to develop the habit of looking up general information and definitions of words in English. You can use the Simple English Wikipedia, the English learner version of Wikipedia that has its articles written at a basic level, or use the learner's version of English dictionaries, such as Oxford, Merriam-Webster, and Longman. You may be thinking, well, reading is just not my thing because I'm a very active person and I can't sit still for a long enough period of time. What if I said you can kill 2 birds with 1 stone? You can take advantage of the benefits of the enriching vocabulary of a book and practice your listening as well by choosing an audiobook to listen to while walking or doing other chores, or to listen while you read the text. You'll work on the development of your listening skills while benefiting from the language of the chosen book. And right now, you can get 2 free audiobooks when you sign up for Audible by using the link down in the description. Try Audible for a month absolutely free, and even if you choose not to continue, you get to keep the audiobooks. I recommend The Graveyard Book, a young adult book with a spectacular narration. Or you could try one of the other books on my best fiction books for English learners list. You can choose to use reading as a stepping stone to enhance other skills. Read out loud. When you do this, it helps your brain to better store information, boosting your memory retention. You are more likely to remember what you've read. It's great to combine this with the audiobook so you get accurate pronunciation. Or look up specific words on Forvo to hear real natives saying them. Record yourself. While reading out loud, it may be a good idea to record yourself. I understand that listening to your own voice may not be the most pleasant thing, but when you do this, you are not only training the muscles you use for speaking, but also becoming more aware of how you are pronouncing, linking, and connecting the spoken and written forms of the words. Highlight words and check them later. Most of the time, you skim a text to capture the essence of it. Be it a book, an article, or a short note, you first try to understand its main idea. It will be much harder and slower to do so if you stop to check every single word you don't know. So, the pro tip here is to highlight them, and after you've finished your first reading, whether for you that's a page or a chapter, go back to the text and check them using a dictionary. Take notes of words or expressions. Following up on the previous tip, create your own personal bank of new words and expressions you've learned from the reading, and challenge yourself to use them. Have them close to you when taking a lesson, for instance, or choose 2 or 3 to incorporate in your next interaction in English. Remember the saying, if you don't use it, you lose it. I like reading before bed. I highlight the words on my e-reader, and then in the morning, with a cup of coffee, I look up the new words and add them to a spaced repetition system like Memrise. Join a book club. This is one of the best ways to motivate you to read a book, while also connecting with others and making friends. You learn so much from interacting with others, not to mention being able to also develop your speaking skills and put those newly learned words into practice. If you can't join a club, find a friend to exchange ideas with you. Ideally, you read it in English and comment in English, but an alternative could be talking about it in your first language. It still does the trick of making sense and processing information learned in a foreign language. Use a Kindle or other e-readers. Besides digital books being less expensive than paper or hardcover books, most e-readers have lots of different features that make reading much more interactive. You can highlight words, write notes, check the dictionary, and much more, all while reading. Turn it into a game. A fun way of doing this is writing a couple of challenges on a piece of paper, putting them in a box, and sorting one to do when it's your reading time. Check out a couple of ideas. Try to remember 4 to 5 words that called your attention on a page. Finish a couple of pages, set a timer for 2 minutes, and write down all the key points from the passage. Write down the main characteristics of a character. Explain out loud what you just read in 1 minute. Choose 3 words you didn't know and try to guess their meaning from the context, and then check them. If you are still not convinced why you should dedicate more time to reading, let's talk about some benefits that go beyond sharpening your language abilities. If you have made it clear to yourself that you won't understand 100% of the text, this helps you control your anxiety and pre-reading stress. That by itself makes the activity easier and lighter. Reading helps you with general comprehension, not only of the language, but also of the subject you are reading. It adds to your general knowledge repertoire. Needless to say that it boosts your vocabulary, right? Some other benefits are that you learn new words from context. You learn different meanings to previously known words, and start to identify patterns, like words that often come together. Reading helps you with a conversation. The more you read, the more your verbal skills will grow, and you become more able to use context to infer the meaning of new words, and thus tend to feel more secure to use them when speaking. When I first started reading in other languages, I was amazed to notice that I would use a word in conversation and not remember actively having learned it, only to later figure out that I had absorbed it while reading. The same goes for grammatical structures. You will start to be able to visualize them in your head, and you won't have to think about it so much when it comes time to speak. So, what are you waiting for to start taking your English to the next level and make it a part of your life? Let's start reading right now. What have you found helpful to improve your reading in English? Leave your recommendation in the comments below and check out other people's reading experiences. Now it's time to go beyond the classroom and live your English. Aw, yeah! Alright, so the first one that we're going to look at is an American classic. I actually had to read it when I was in high school, and I have to tell you, it was one of my favorite reading assignments during that time. Now this one is more advanced. It's actually satirical, like many of Vonnegut's books, and that basically means that it uses humor in order to criticize.